can see the girls in the background yet. This is gonna go this way. Nice and stable. This thing is a bit heavy. But we got it. Alrighty, so first things first. This is an older model Craftsman mower that I got off of somebody I worked with. It's 50 bucks, 7.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. It works really good when it does work. But an issue I've been running into is I can't find parts for it. This air filter is not the proper air filter. So I can get the cover out of the way. Gas can bag on for now. Oh. I'm going to show you that in a second, but that's not good. There is a crack in the gas tank. Now, it's not flowing out of there, but I don't trust it. 8 mil, pretty universal for just about everything. Where's all this gas coming from? It's not flowing anywhere else. Now it's dumping gas everywhere. There's Luna being loud as she can. So this, I'm just removing some stuff. To gain access to the carburetor. Alright, so let's look at this. You hear goats yelling in the background. So this is the air box. That gasket off there. I got a new gasket. Get all the smooch out of here. Yeah, this is the air box. It's in pretty good shape. No cracks that I can see. This is the breather hose that goes from the crankcase back into the air box to recycle through the carburetor. Works pretty good. Helps with emissions. I'm going to do a quick spray on this carbon choke cleaner. So you can see how this is carbureted mower, so I can spray some carbon choke cleaner, get stuff cleaned up. So this plunger here, let's see if you can get a good view of it. This is what you push in to prime the carb. And then this hole here, let's see if you can hear it. Put my finger over it. See, there's air that flows through there. That helps get gas circulating a little faster. Kind of little prime charge in the carb. Help with that initial startup when you first pull the pull cord. Alright, that's cleaned off. Little air compressor. Okay, now three-eighths for the two the two bolts that hold the carburetor on. And this is my dirty, leaky carburetor. Hopefully the new one. I think what happened was there was still dirt in the system, and when I put the carburetor, yeah, I see something in there. When I put this on, I didn't fully clean out the lines of the gas tank. I just put new gas in it and went for it, and I think what happened was some dirt got inside of there and clogged up some jets and may have stuck the float open, which means the there's a float inside in the bottom of the carburetors. It's a little, literally floats in the gas as the gas fills up the bowl. The higher it goes, the float will raise, and there's a needle that will actually go into a little spout from the fuel line coming into the carb, and it'll close the gas line off that comes through this nozzle. So gas comes through here into the bowl, and the float, as it gets more gas goes in there, the float will rise up, and there's a needle on top of the float that'll actually seat right inside an opening where the gas goes in. So as it goes up all the way, that needle will shut off the gas automatically. And if there's any dirt or anything that gets in there in between the face of the needle and the opening of the gas inlet, anything gets stuck in between there, it won't have a good seal, so it'll slowly leak gas through, and then it'll overflow the bowl, and then just leak out everywhere. So this one is probably quite a bit dirty. It looks dirty, so we're not gonna mess with that one. I got a brand new one to put in there. So hopefully that will work. Let's see. This O-ring on that side. These gaskets are, well, it's a gasket and an O-ring, so it helps seal in between the surface of the engine. Oh, I can see gas built up in there too. Quite a bit of gas sitting in there, which means this thing was flooded. A lot of gas sitting in there. Alright, so O-rings and such. There's a heat shield here that's got some old grass piled behind it. Clean out a little bit. Oh yeah. For a second there, almost felt like it started to rain a little bit. It might be. I don't know what the weather's like today. We'll figure it out as we go. It's alright. So that is a piece of old gasket. I'm not going to use that. Looks like it was a little bit of a shield or something they had there. But we're not going to bother with that. So we got a brand new O-ring. So this is the intake. This is where the air goes in. And if you can see, let's see if it focuses. It's hard to tell, but there's a little pin in there. And this is, yeah, it's hard to tell because it's not focusing, but it's called a Venturi tunnel, where the air goes in, it kind of bottlenecks a little bit, opens up again and goes out. A little bit of space is the Venturi tunnel, and that creates almost like a vacuum or suction that will suck fuel out of the bowl and up through that little jet, it's called. So as air passes through, it's bringing fuel up there, and then that fuel, and it gets real turbulent in there, goes into the cylinder, and has a nice even dispersion of air and fuel mixture. And then when the spark plug ignites, it creates combustion, pushes the piston down. And with these, it's only a single cylinder, so what'll happen is when that piston goes down, the weight of the blades spinning will keep the crankshaft going that the piston's connected to, and as the gas pushes it down, the centrifugal force of the blades that keep spinning it will push the cylinder back up and then go through the whole cycle again. This is a 4-stroke. Suck, squeeze, bang, boom. So there's an intake stroke where it brings all the air and fuel in. There's a compression stroke, so it goes down to bring all the air and fuel in, comes back up to compress it, and just as it's being compressed, that's when the spark plug ignites it, and then the explosion, the ignition of the air and fuel pushes the piston down. And then there's the exhaust stroke that it comes back up and it puts all the exhaust out of the cylinder. And then as it goes down again, it's bringing more fuel in, compression, spark, exhaust, fuel, compression, spark, exhaust, fuel, compression, spark, exhaust. 2-stroke, as it's coming up, it's bringing... 2-stroke only does compression and combustion, exhaust, intake, compression, and combustion. So it's every 2 up and down, every other one, instead of every 4. Hence the 2/4-stroke. 2-strokes are notorious for having incredible immediate power, which is why a lot of dirt bikes and off-road vehicles will be 2-stroke, because they are quite powerful, but the EPA doesn't like them. 4-strokes burn cleaner than 2-strokes. There's a 2-strokes need a oil mixture in the fuel to help keep everything lubricated. If you don't have that oil mixture in your fuel, that additive, a lot of the internal engine parts will get too hot, corrode too fast, and break down and seize together. So it's less than ideal, but that is the difference. And I'm going to put the carburetor back on. This rod I'm threading through here, that is for the, oh, hold on a second. That's the throttle control. You pull back on the lever on the handle, that there's a rod that's extended down. Let me make sure. You know what? This O-ring fell out, so there is a trick you can use to keep stuff in there. So a little trick for holding gaskets and O-rings in. You can also use this with bearings. Take a little bit of grease, apply a thin layer onto the surface, and then that will actually help, because the grease will just dissolve with the gas and burn in there, so you don't have to worry about it. getting in the way from everything. But put a little bit of grease, just a fuzz, and it will hold the O-ring in place. It also works with bearings. If you have to take a bearing apart, the rollers or balls in there, do grease first, and then you can put it back together, and the grease holds them in place until you get it fully assembled. And then you can fully pack it. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Now, one important thing in the automotive world, when you tighten stuff, you'll hear, if you've ever been in there, some of the old school guys will say that's Guten tight as a unit of torquing, because you can usually spin the bejesus out of something and it'll hold pretty good. You know, grade 8 bolts going into steel and stuff like that. A lot of these aluminum pieces, any softer metals, aluminum, copper, brass, you gotta be just the hair past snug, really. There are torque specifications you can look up if you get the service manuals for it. I don't have it. So, just a bit past snug is all I'm doing. Now, this is the old fuel line. I'm going to cut myself new fuel line. You can get this stuff anywhere. It's just a long spool of it, the right dimension, right interior, diameter. So these are actually used. I got these when I replumb some stuff. They're cutters for PEX pipe and smaller PVC, but they work for these rubber hoses too. They work really, really well. So, get the idea of where I need to cut it. You can measure it outright or line it up next to it, as long as it's there. It's got a pretty sharp blade. It does a really nice clean cut. So these are nice, even if you don't have plumbing jobs like I do. Get some of this gas off of there. These work pretty good. Now, try to keep myself a bit organized. Clutter can ruin a day. So now, put the clamps on. One end of the hose there. Tighten the clamp around it. Actually, maybe not. Because this hose, the outside diameter of this hose is a little smaller than the old one, so I'll use the new clamps just to make sure it's nice and snug. This, two old clamps, put the larger clamps away so I don't lose them. This grass here, yeah, that keeps hitting the back of my neck. I think it's a bug. Can you see them? All the time. That big black mat is the base for the pool that I'm gonna erect again soon for the wife. And that's what they do all the time. Pool mat is a wrestling ring. All the time. Train's coming through. Gives them exercise though. So this isn't fitting over. There's a mouth or there's a lip at the end of the intake that this goes over and then grabs around. Sometimes these clamps, it's difficult for them to get over that bulbous end. So then I'll put it over it first, and then I'll slide this onto the nozzle or the nipple for the fuel. I'll slide this, put this on first, and then I'll slide this over top, and then it'll slide into there. Then I can release it and it'll clamp on. It's another way to get around it if you don't have enough room with these little clamps. Girls, can you be nice? Not be so loud. You make it sound like I got a dog fighting ring in the backyard. So incredibly loud. There we go. That's all the way on. Don't have to worry about that. Now, on the gas tank side of things, it doesn't have that bulge. It's just a straight shot. So in theory, train coming through. Right, so this one's a bit rough too. There we go. So this one was a bit tight also. So what I did was I got the clamp started on the end of the hose and then slid everything on. So the hose expanding will actually help push the clamp, and then once you take the pliers off, the clamp will bite it and hold it just fine. Little ways you gotta work around some of this old stuff. And again, this one, I tried looking for parts. Luckily, the carburetors are very, very universal throughout a lot of models. That helps. It also helps the price, because the carburetor for one of these mowers is $6-7 on Amazon. Super, super cheap and affordable. And then the hose is, I think, $10-15 for like 15 feet of it. You'll rarely need more than 15 feet, even in vehicles. Usually it's well, the older stuff that I always had, it was a metal fuel line and then a little rubber hose to help with the flex of the engine and stuff like that. So, all right, next is the other gasket. Which you can see, these gaskets, they'll be, hold on, I'm getting used to this camera stuff. There'll be little guide pins that everything slides into. Maybe, is this the wrong gasket? There's an opening in the wrong spot. 2 out of the 3 guide pins slide on. But oh, I see. Alright, so unfortunately with this airbox, I'll try to show you. So this gasket should extend over to this corner even further, because this guide pin isn't holding there. These two seat just fine with an opening there, but this one is probably 1/8 of an inch off, and this is also right here is where the prime would suction in. That means this is the wrong gasket that came with it, but I think an issue I'm going to have is because of how difficult it's been to try to find just an air filter for this model. May have been a discontinued, may not have gone for that long. I think the person worked at Sears for a while, and this was like a special one, and I struggling finding parts for it. Putting in the model number and everything, it brings up a whole bunch of different stuff. There's a bunch of zip ties here because trying to find the old throttle cable. There's zip ties up on the handle for the throttle cable that comes down. The throttle cable was rusted and snapped in half, and I spent probably 2 full weeks, almost every day, trying to find exactly what I need. I found the right length, but it doesn't have the right clip to go on the handlebars or the handlebars. So I had to adjust some stuff myself, which I wasn't too happy with, but if it works, it works. Throttle works. This, unfortunately, that may just keep causing problems. I don't think there's an opening. Yeah, so I just won't have the use of the plunger to the primer to help prime it. But with everything hooked up and continual use, hopefully I won't have to worry about it. And then I will do some more research to see if I can find proper gaskets for it. Okay, now we go back to the 8mm socket. Put this back on. Again, it's going into aluminum, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure on the ratchet, because that can damage it. Alright. Next, we're putting this rod back in. Everything buttoned up properly. And this is the speed control. It's got the power front wheels. So this rod I just hooked up helps control the speed of how fast it walks in front of you. Alright, now this is what I had to do. I'm not liking it, but again, you can usually find everything online. But this mower, out of all of the vehicles I've had from the 60s, 70s, 80s, this mower has given me the most problems with trying to source parts for it. Oh, crap. Hold on. I wanted to do something. Because there is a piece of rubber from the gas cap in there. So I grabbed my trusty dusty grabber tool. And there it is. Oh, it just broke again, but I got it out. Alright, next. Now that that's done, what I should have done, which I can go back in here anytime, it's pretty easy. You get a small inline fuel filter. That'll help with any extra debris. So the issue I had, the original air filter I had on here was about twice this height, but all the paper was dry rotted and just falling apart, so it would have just been this large metal screen. Couldn't find one. Couldn't find one with the proper height. So what I did, this one for some reason had a hole on the top. So I put a nut and bolt just to seal the hole. And then I cut down, this is the backyard mechanic MacGyver stuff. Cut down the lid of a bottle where the, cap screws on. And then that, in return, sits inside of this piece that would press down on the top of the air filter. And that little gap is enough to hold that snug enough where it's not going to leak any air past the air filter. Okay, that's all back together. Let's get everything put away. Then I'll pull it down, put some gas in it, see if it leaks. Hopefully it doesn't. And then maybe I can mow the lawn this morning, because it needs it. We had the cold snaps down here in Florida. And a lot of the vegetation wilted. So I want to take advantage of the easier access to be able to mow it. Last 2 screws for the decorative top cover for my 7 horsepower Craftsman engine, or Briggs & Stratton engine, my Craftsman mower. Hey, look at that. So, my spark plug just broke. Cool. I believe I do have an extra one, but this is not that uncommon for this to happen. This is the porcelain. Actually broke off. So, I believe I have an extra one. If not, again, these spark plugs, not expensive. I'll just have to order a new one before I try to start it. As it goes, I do not have another one. So what I'm gonna do is I'll get these ordered. Probably be in by the end of the day or tomorrow morning. And yeah, so goes life. Always something, right? It's not that uncommon. Nice to have extras, just in case this happens. But for now, I'm gonna put it back in, finger tight, to keep it sealed. And then I'm gonna relax a little bit. Make some breakfast, because my wife also, it's her 30th birthday today. Turned the big 3-0. Yep. It's my mower. It's also something you have to take into consideration when you get something that's a bit older and sat in somebody's storage unit for, God, I think he said like 10, 15 years. Everything's pretty good. It does, when it's running, it's strong. I've had it. I've mowed my yard a couple times. Really good. But for now, we're gonna call it. And then, yeah, check back in and let everybody know how it's doing. I'm probably going to be streaming tonight, playing some video games. The wife's having a lot of her girlfriends over for her birthday, and I'm not going to be a part of that. So, I'm going to lock myself in the back room, play on the computer, play some games. Anybody wants to stop in, more than welcome. Until next time, have a good day.